So I've been reflecting on this question I created in my journal, Let's Celebrate Being Single. What does being single for me feel like before versus now? And I just wish that someone was there to just validate my feelings on the way I felt being single before compared to now. Like, I wish more people just asked, hey, how are you feeling? And like checked up on you and then followed up to see how you're doing now, kind of thing. And not too many people do that. Because I could say that how I felt before is definitely way different than how I feel now. Before, I felt very small, very limited, definitely not heard, and very forgotten. And let's not forget feeling sad very often, because I think I was just trying to figure out how to navigate being single and my emotions and handling the things that I don't have that I thought that I was just missing out on constantly. Being single gave me a sense of not fitting in because I wasn't married like my other friend. I just felt like I was in a different box than other people. And to give you context, like I saw a lot of people, especially my age, getting married very young. And I seriously hoped that I was married by the age of 25. I thought finding a person would fill that void of loneliness. I thought the only way to remove loneliness was to find that person. Because if I found a person, I would no longer feel that way because they would be like my best friend, my companion. I would do everything with them. And unfortunately, I feel like that stemmed from growing up, seeing my mom always constantly get validation from men. And I feel like somewhere seeing all that, it kind of instilled in me like, I need to always find a person in order to feel happy, because even like seeing the women in my family, like a lot of them had that same belief. So a lot of them seemed very unhappy. It taught me that I had to find someone at all costs in order to fulfill my life. There was not a life where I saw where it was okay to just be single and be on your own and figure out how to be happy. Being single back then meant that I didn't listen to my intuition that much, and it started to stem in other areas of my life. So whether that was me making decisions in other areas like careers, business, whatever, I didn't trust myself that much. I didn't see the value in myself. I didn't understand how valuable I was in terms of just my inner worth. I put up with a lot when it came to dating. I've done it all, girl. Begged, cried, and allowed these situations to disturb my peace. I created this journal because I wanted to be a space where single women can just celebrate being single unapologetically with where they are. So this journal takes you through a journey. You'll see like you go through the honest reset, what you haven't celebrated yet, and then you're discovering yourself, and then solo date activities. So then there's like affirmations, just stories, personal stories, so you can relate, and then you go into answering these questions. I think they're so fun. I wish I had this before when I struggled so much with being single. This is also honestly very good as a reflection if you want to just see where you're at right now. Then we take you through what are the 10 things you want to experience this year. 1 year from now, who do you want to be? I think that's so important, and to shift our focus. And then we go into the solo date activities. We're doing this for literally 4 weeks, and you'll be able to document how you felt. And so you can find things you enjoy doing. And so you can do things when you feel bored. So if you're looking for a journal to just take yourself through being single, the link is in the description. It's going to be pinned in the comments. And looking forward to seeing who you become and who you already are being single. I remember one time I even had to call into work and call in sick because I was so heartbroken and I felt like I couldn't cope. And it had me in my emotions with the situation. And I had to just take a day for myself. And it really put things into perspective. It was completely eye-opening. And now looking from a point of view of my present self, I allow those situations to mess with my money, mess with my goals, and mess with my overall state of mind. and you don't realize it when you're in it. But then when you look out of it, when you look at the situation, now that you're more calm, you're like, what? I allowed what? I also noticed every time I got my heart broken, it completely slowed me down. That's the reality of it. We chase love, but there's so much risk that we sometimes don't realize how much it slows you down. Sometimes, some people don't even get back up from it. They don't even bounce back after a heartbreak because it's so shattering. Like, we just don't realize how shattering it can be. Obviously, if you meet the right person, you won't deal with that. But most of the time, it's like when you're dating and meeting other people, it's like you're opening your heart to whatever comes to you. I remember there was a time where I was just so lonely that when I used to take the bus, I would just cry in there because I would think to myself, man, I don't have anyone. I was just in a world where I completely didn't have anyone, platonic, romantic, whatever that was. And I don't think I forgot that moment because I just remember the feeling of just feeling that like emptiness. Man, it's like it's something that you can't force to happen. And at the time, it's like I felt so hopeless because I didn't know how to fix that situation. But I felt like my focus wasn't on the right thing, unfortunately. And I zeroed in on that feeling that it made all the other things that were happening in my life not matter. No matter how good it was. Love is beautiful, but once you start searching for it, it becomes a very vulnerable territory. When you're really desperate for love, love is not what you're looking for anymore. You're looking for someone to give you what you can't give yourself at that point. It turned into a self-seeking validation. I don't believe before, when I was single, that I truly loved myself or even understood what that was, what that meant. You hear people say it, but you're like, when you're in that state of you just want to find someone, it's not a thing. You think, oh, everything's all good. I just need that one thing. There's something that you're lacking, that you're giving yourself, that you're not getting, that you're trying to get someone else to give you. You become like meat in a field because once men find this out, and especially if it's the wrong person, they will want to take it and run with it. You are officially a target. And as a result of this, I was scared to do anything alone. Doing something by myself was not a thing. I just stayed home and stayed depressed. That was a thing, was like, I didn't do anything. Something we don't talk about is how much it affects your self-esteem. Like, my self-esteem was to the floor. It was either I had people around me, like, so no alone time. Spending time by myself and reflecting was not a thing. I hung around people who didn't truly like me, but I still kept them around. I still was desperate for them to be in my life because when your self-esteem is on the ground, pretty much, there's no lower you can go, right? So I seeked a lot of validation for people in general who were just really crappy. And it really led me to, I didn't trust myself. Trust my intuition and my inner voice, and I didn't follow my gut as much. But now, girl, it's completely different. Complete 180. And it's taken me years to get to this place. And a lot of just internal work. And sometimes we can forget that when we're trying to learn how to accept the present, because that's the hardest part, especially if you're single, we forget to give ourselves grace. It honestly takes a lot of time to get to a point where you're comfortable and you're content. I used to always hear people say that, and I used to be like, psst, get out of here with that. What do you mean by content to be single when I really want that person? Like, how can I be content if I'm looking for someone? When do you just get to a point that once you do the work and you start to be happier and you start to shift your focus, I think that matters a lot. From you being alone, you start to shift your focus to things that you enjoy doing, things that you like, and things that you like about yourself, and you start being comfortable being in your own space. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, if I were to be single for the rest of my life, I would be fine with it. I've quickly realized how much of a privilege it is to have peace in your life. It's so precious. And just not have the constant stress, not have the wrong person in your life. And then I think what most people don't talk about is that the stress you have, especially if you're a people pleaser, because I know a lot of women are naturally nurturers, then it's hard to then get that person out of your life. Because then you're like, okay, now how am I going to strategize, get this person out of my life? And sometimes it's just dangerous. You just don't know what the person's going to do. Are they going to snap? And now it's like you have to reset your life again. I really put having my own space on a high pedestal. It's so important to me. And I've just learned to put myself first. I wasn't putting myself first. I was putting finding someone as first in my life and then me. So then that resulted in a lot of things like going to dirt, pretty much. That was not going well. But when I say putting myself first, it just includes knowing when it's time to just be by myself and knowing when it's time to hang out with friends, like be in a social setting. It's celebrating my wins, small or big. It's taking the time to learn more about me and what I like and testing out new things and being able to say, I don't like doing this. Oh, I like doing this. For me, it's about reading books and doing pottery and going to events around Toronto and meeting new people, salsa dancing, like going to salsa dance parties. The single me before didn't do any of these things because I was just so focused on that one thing. Sometimes I wish I could go back to my before single me self and just tell her, hey, it's okay, just look around you. Find something you enjoy. It's gonna get better. I wish I had that type of validation. Like I wish I had someone to tell me that instead of like people just saying, oh, in due time that person will come. I think it just feeds into that, and there's not enough people saying focus on yourself but telling you how to do it. I feel like no one really tells you like how to do that. Like it's always like general statements but no one tells you how, and it was something that I needed to figure out on my own of, okay, how do I get there? Like, if I only knew that the way to really fight loneliness was learning to occupy my time with other things, so that I was so busy that I didn't even notice I was lonely, to the point where the loneliness goes because now you're doing things that you enjoy. So you're replacing that part of you that was like, oh my God, I need someone to, oh my God, I'm having so much fun and I don't even realize that no one's there type thing. Like, who could have thought that from focusing on yourself, you start to learn even more boundaries and you start to be wise in picking the people that you want in your life, and then all of a sudden you start to have healthy friends, and all of a sudden you start to understand what's a toxic relationship from a non-toxic relationship. I think it's just crazy how you can just start to know yourself and then all of a sudden your eyes start to open. Decentering Men is a game changer because once you start to fill your schedule with other things that are important to you, you'll get to see, oh my God, there's something more than life than just finding someone and then depending on men to make you happy. Because let me tell you, once you're content and you're happy, no joker could come into your life and try to speak sweet words. I have a better understanding of the reality of love and relationships and what it takes. Like, I no longer have that fairy tale type point of view when it comes to relationships. And I understand that relationships is not just about finding the right perfect person and falling in love with them. There's way more to it, because I feel like if that was enough, you wouldn't see people having broken relationships. It's sometimes not arguing and just leaving it alone just because. And I'm understanding that you may see a cute couple in a matching pajamas or a matching outfit, but 10 minutes ago they may have been arguing. I have more of a realistic point of view than I did before, where everything was just like perfect and everyone's just in love. But I understand that it's not like that. Like, you may be bickering at each other. And where I am with being single, I feel like I constantly go back and forth with it now that I'm in a really good, healthy spot when it comes to being single and being in my own space. Because there's times where, I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I still, struggle with, oh, would I be willing to compromise? Would I be willing to sacrifice? Would I be willing to pick up the guy's underwear off the floor? Because all I can think about most of the time is divorce. Would I be willing to have so much grace if he did something that I didn't like that he did? Would I stay and talk through it, or would I be like, goodbye? Goodbye. But now I know for sure my non-negotiable. I'm not willing to sacrifice my peace for a relationship or just anyone. It has to be the right person. And I don't take dating lightly. I recognize that it may be a sense of fear, but I just don't take it lightly because you just don't know who you're meeting. You're seeing a lot of things happen to women where guys are praying and you see a lot of bad things happening. But I recognize that making the wrong decision can lead to bringing the wrong person into my life. And then there may be another struggle to get back my peace again. I would have to fight for that peace again. That could just turn your world upside down. And so I am very aware of that. And I'm being real with you guys. That's real fears of mine. You let the wrong person in your life, it can just mess up your whole life, set you back, set back your emotions, all the work you've done on yourself, 10 step back. Then you have to work again to get back to a place where you are healthy again. I think it's very scary. But I do understand that meeting the right person can be a very beautiful thing. And it could change your whole life and change your whole viewpoint. It could change the trajectory of your purpose. But I can honestly say that I never thought I would say that I'm loving where I am right now. And my mental health is way better. It's at an all-time high. My relationship with God is stronger. I understand myself way better than I did before. I had the privilege of being able to see my trials and all my tribulations that I overcame. Like, dang. I could say I have a sense of fulfillment where I have friends that I like being around. I think that's very important. And I'm still discovering more and more hobbies. Like, I recently got into golfing, which is kind of cool, so I'm exploring that. And I'm doing a lot of self-development work and a lot of awareness work to make sure I'm truly understanding myself and I'm processing my emotions the best way I can. So it's giving me a lot of time to do those things that maybe I wouldn't have time for otherwise if someone else was taking up my time. So this is what being single feels like for me now. And if I'm being honest, I'm liking this version of me right now. So if you want to go deeper, answer the same question for yourself. And if you want to answer even more questions, the Let's Celebrate to Be Single journal is linked in the description and pinned in the comments. So you can't miss it.